Alright artists, this is Mr. Kingery here making another YouTube video for you. I want to demonstrate some work with tempera for you and hopefully give you some advice to help you feel successful. I made this little graphic for you. Artists create by experimenting, by observing from their imagination to express things and from their memory. A lot of students prefer to create from here, which is a really fun and great way to create, and it's maybe not as enjoyable as this one for sure. This one can be really fun, but today I'll be using this, and that will help me down the road. It will help me enjoy this more. It will help me be able to express things more efficiently or in a better way. It will help me create from the other types of art making. It will kind of grow my abilities to express things and show things from my creative side. So I'm going to spend some time here and here, and this one is really big, especially for middle school students, because by observing sometimes things around us, we can see beautiful things, and it's the celebration of that beauty when we create, and sometimes we're looking at the greatest creator of them all, our heavenly creator, and seeing his wonderfulness, and by looking closely we can really grow our abilities. So I'm gonna look closely at the sky here, and a lot of times students will just put blue down for a sky because skies are blue, and that can be a really fun way to paint, but it can also be really enjoyable to get control over those paints, to experiment with them, to play with them, and figure out a way to get specific colors and smooth blends. So I'm going to give you some advice from that. I'm going to set this aside for a sec. The things you need are a water cup, a good sized water cup, so you don't have to go rinse it out all the time, but don't fill it all the way in case you knock it over. You also need some paper towels to wipe brushes on and to help you control your water. You'll need a paint tray. Right now, I'm trying to experiment with these three colors: turquoise, regular blue, and white. Blue can be a little stinky because it's old, and I just kind of ignore that, no big deal. Use it as little as possible and be done with it. You'll need some brushes. These for sky blending, these are some of the really best brushes in the room. The maroon, the black, the green handle. They're really soft bristles. That's almost like a makeup brush, and that's going to make a big difference for the type of blending that we're doing today. You can, especially with other types of paint, you can blend with stiff brushes, but for what we're working with, I've experimented and discovered that these brushes work really well. So these are the target brushes for sky blends. We want to avoid the stiff brushes that just have really firm hair that's like hard to push, the stiff short hair bristles. So we're going to avoid these. We don't want these. We do want these. We're going to get practice paper, and we're going to get a paint mat, and we're going to play around on our practice paper with some experimenting, and when we get happy here, we're going to take that to our good paper like this and do our little mini painting to work on our skills of blending and looking closely. So I'm going to start with my practice paper, and I'm going to start with my reference image right here. Try to put that where you can see it really well. And I'm going to work on trying to get that shade of blue. I see it's darker here, and it gets lighter as it goes to the horizon line. So I know that in my palette here, I'm going to have to do some playing around and mixing. This brush is kind of huge. I'm going to go, while I play with the colors, I'm going to go with this brush. In your paint tray is your playground to play with color. I know that white is really weak, so when I work with white, it's going to take a lot of white and a little bit of blue to make the sky color I'm trying to make. So right now, I can compare that to that sky right there. And just by experimenting in practice, I know that the turquoise has a little bit of green in it, and so you wouldn't think to add green to a sky, but the turquoise is probably going to help me get closer to the color I see there. So I'm going to play around on my tray, throw some more white in there. And I need a kind of, once I find the right mixture, I'm going to need quite a bit of that mixture to do the sky. I'm going to go play with the white. So we're just playing around on the tray here until we're getting kind of happy, kind of close to what we see on the page. Just continuing to mix and play, making a lot of the color. I might swipe it down on the paper and compare it to what's on the screen. And it's pretty close. I feel like a little more of this can help. Try a little more regular blue. So we're playing, yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting close. I'm gonna go with a little more regular blue. We're just playing, experimenting. Oops, I'm off the screen. There we go. Just playing around, experimenting. And I'm gonna swipe that down. It's looking a little bit different than that first sample. I'm gonna hold that up there. It's looking pretty close. So when I practice on my paper, I'm gonna practice on my computer paper, and I want this big sweeping motion. What I typically see is a lot of kids doing this kind of stuff, or dry brushing like this. So the brush needs to be loaded with paint. It needs to be a soft bristle, and the type of, the technique, the way that we move the brush has a big effect on the look of the paint. I'm trying to get a really smooth look like my reference image here. So I'm trying to smooth it out with big, long, sweeping motions like that. As it gets lighter, I can go straight white on my brush and work that upward into that other blue that was already down. And that's kind of satisfying to see it making that gradual, controlled shift and that smoothness. And I can compare that to the sky I have here, and I'm getting close. I'm feeling really happy with this, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull the good paper out. It's just a little bit thicker. This is computer paper. It's gonna break down. It's good to practice on. I have the good paper here. I want to make sure that I have a name and code on, a little smiley face on there, and the code for whatever your class would be. Have that on the back so we can sort these out. With the good paper, I got my paint mat down. I've got my shade of blue that I'm pretty happy with. I'm gonna smear that down with a gentle sweeping motion on the brush. The paint trays, the paint mats, sometimes they have paint on them, so you have to be careful. You can pick it up into your brush. So I'm sweeping out and getting some full coverage. If my brush is making those kind of marks, that's a dry brush. That means my brush is not loaded enough with paint. So I need to load that brush and make a nice smooth coverage with that big long left and right movement. And now it's getting lighter as it goes to the horizon line. And I should probably, I can see in my reference image that the horizon line is a little bit above halfway. So I just need to kind of make a target for my blue to go past, because the green is going to overlap. It's going to be in front of the blue. So the blue's got to come down below the green, and that's going to be a different step in the project. So I'm going to sweep out my white here and work that white upwards. And a lot of times, if you've got a really sudden change from one color to another and you want to smooth that out, this is the trick. You can rinse your brush and use a just, I'm going to rinse it real good, and use a just watery brush. Take, not too watery, but a just watery brush, and you can use it as a blender to blend from one color to another and help smooth things out. So water can be your friend in moderation, and it can help you smooth things out. And that's that. The first layer is looking good, but you don't want to stop and be satisfied, because it gets even better if you do all of this a second time. The first layer kind of fills in the divots in the paper, and the second layer kind of glides over everything and gets even smoother. So I'm going to, it looks like I ran out of my first color of blue, so I need to make a little bit more of that. I'm going to do a second layer of my blue up here. And we're working with really cheap, basic practice paints. Great for learning your blending abilities. These paints, if we're working with the more expensive stuff like acrylics and other types of paints, we could get way better results. I'm just a shade off on this blue, and I see it's a darker blue up here. I'm gonna try to just put some directly on the paper, some darker blue here, and kind of work it back and forth down to this direction. You can mix and blend directly on your paper, but I'm trying to capture how it's the darkest blue up there. I'm looking closely, and now I'm smoothing it out with some left and right. And now I'm gonna rinse my brush in some water, and then I wanna have my paper towel nearby to control it. Too much water. And now I want just a barely watery brush to kind of be the fixer and smooth a bunch of this out. Help it get really smooth. We're ignoring the clouds. The clouds will go over that beautiful blue sky after we get done adding that. I feel like I need to go with some straight white right through here and brighten that up. So you want to compare, take a step back, look at your reference image, look at your photo, and just kind of compare what you have. Where does it need to be adjusted? How does it need to be adjusted? There's a little bit of a dark blue stripe right through there. So I'm just gonna rinse my brush, wipe it off, get it a little bit wet, and try to sweep through there, clean that up. I need some straight white here. So I'm going to, and sometimes it's okay to put the paint directly on the surface. I'm gonna work that straight white upward. It's really, the blue is pulling up through the white, and it's making a really light blue here. And I'm working my way up. A little bit of water. A little more water. So I could probably do even one more layer over that, but I think I'm in a pretty good stopping point. So I would let this dry. You can speed dry it with a hair dryer. And I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm going to do the clouds on top of that blue sky. Thanks for watching.